RECO12. I'm really excited today about our speaker, Nikki M. Now, I want to get into this real quick and give you a heads up. At about 7 to 10 minutes in this conversation, we had a little bit of internet trouble. Now, I'm keeping it in here because it really shows and emphasizes the solution that Nikki is sharing here, the undiluted message. I'm going to keep it in. Only a couple times will it be a little bit choppy, and there will be a couple of conversations or short comments about changing internet, about changing things up, and then focusing on God as being the solution. By the end of this conversation, it will wrap up and you will see that, hey, God's hand was really in this and really helped to make the recording smooth, and he showed his hand and his power that all things are within his control. All right, here we go. Welcome to RECO12. My name is Justin. I am a child of God and a recovering addict and am blessed to be the host of this meeting and podcast. RECO12 is an organization with the mission of learning and sharing the similarities of addiction of all kinds and gaining and sharing tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to gain tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. Speakers from our past meetings have represented many fellowships and identify with addictions with such a variety as alcoholism, drugs, food, sex, gambling, theft, codependency, and all of the anon groups, and this just names a few of them. We invite recovering addicts with at least 1 year sobriety and who are actively working their recovery in their respective fellowships to share their experience, strength, and hope on a live Zoom webinar each Friday at noon Central Time for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then we, the live audience, get the opportunity to ask questions to that speaker for another 20 to 25 minutes. If you're hearing this meeting in recorded podcast form and would like to participate as a live audience member in the future, and right now we're sitting at 26 here in the live audience, and that will continue to grow. We're happy to have you here. But if you want to join in on this and ask questions in a future meeting, please go to RECO12.com. That's RECO12.com to learn more and to submit your email address to receive these weekly invitations and links. RECO12 is self-supporting, and we appreciate your help in helping in keeping us work our 12th step in this manner. We gratefully accept contributions, and I'll put the links in the chat here. I'll put the links in the show notes of the podcast. So if you want to contribute, you can. This is meeting number 147, and what a miracle that is. We also have a growing and pretty active WhatsApp community. If you would like to be added there, please send an email with your WhatsApp number to RECO12pod@gmail.com. That's RECO12pod@gmail.com. Now, we look forward each week to receiving from the light reflected from our speakers. That light inspires hope, meaning, worth, and growth in each of us, the listening audience. Today's guest speaker, I'm excited. She's one of our RECO12 favorites, Nikki M., whose topic is the exact instructions of the Big Book. Now, here's a little bit about Nikki. Nikki is one of the founding members of the Big Book Sponsorship Group, an online 12 Steps global recovery network grown out of Toronto, Wednesday SLA, Big Book meeting, also known as Spiritual Gangsters on WhatsApp. Her program of recovery began by the grace of God, the power of 12 Steps, and the fellowships of CA, Al-Anon, and SLA. Nikki's story is one of transformation and healing distinguished by her practical application of the direct instructions of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. She carries the undiluted message to countless rooms, sponsors both men and women, provides service to numerous local community groups, and can be found at Noodle It Out with Nikki on Monday mornings. Now, I'll put a link to all of the Spiritual Gangsters meetings in the chat and in the show notes so you can check those out. But Nikki, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Justin. I can't believe how long we've been here together since, right at the beginning, it seems, of COVID. We found each other just as a blur. But I'm Nikki, a grateful member of many fellowships, as Justin said. And if you want to know more about my story, well, Justin has these awesome spiritual tools that we use here on his podcast, and you can learn more about me on any of those other tapes. But here we're today talking about the exact instructions of the Big Book. And I'm so excited today because I said to Justin, this is a wonderful teaching tool for myself because I'm living page 19, and I'll just read what it says. And this came true for me, which says, a few are fortunate enough to be so situated that they can give nearly all their time to the work. And I'm so situated that I can give nearly all my time to this work, which is a lifestyle, which is carrying this big book, undiluted message. A little background is that I was in other rooms with other literature. And unfortunately, I was just not getting better. I had a sponsor who followed the exact instructions of the big book. And the exact instruction, let's just start here, friends, says we make the approach. It does not say raise your hand in a room. It doesn't say hope that someone will send you a sponsor. It literally says we make the approach. And why do we do that, friends? Because the new person in the room is dying. They've never been here before. They don't know. Here's what the book says. They can't differentiate between the true and the false. Our new friend is being driven by 400 forms of madness. And so we have to make the approach. That's an exact instruction that's been watered down. Raise your hand. I didn't see that instruction in the book. And so now a lot of us are on Zoom. So we need to make the approach on Zoom when someone's sharing in the chat, if it's allowed or after, stay, give that person your number. Because why? We're armed with the facts. I told Justin today I'd do a little role play, like what happens when people call me? I've sponsored so many people, I don't even know the number. So I get a lot of phone calls because not only do I have sponsors, I have grand sponsees. I mean, this is a lineage that goes down. And so when I get a call and people are out of their minds, I know the first instruction they have not followed is they did not smash the idea that they're like other people. That's an exact instruction, isn't it? Oh, well, Nikki, I did that when I learned in step 1, 2, and 3. No, every day is a day. That's another instruction. Every day is a day we carry.
Hey, Nikki, I think we need to take you off video for a little bit. Your audio's chopping up.
Okay, let me try that again.
Yeah, so every day is a day is where we lost you.
Okay, thank you. So that was my fear, is that the audio wouldn't work well today. Every day the book says is the day. So I'll just rewind a little bit. When people call me and they're out of their mind because we only get a daily reprieve contingent on our spiritual fitness, I know instantly what they have not done because the instructions are in this book. It says every day is a day we carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. We never get a day off. It says smash the idea that we're like other people presently or ever may be. If you are in this program, this is an instruction they ask us to do every day. They ask us to smash the idea that we're ever going to be like anyone on this planet. It also asks us every day not to drift off. See, that's just not a nighttime instruction. That's an instruction for every day. Every day, we must not drift off into morbid reflection, into remorse. When you come into this program comes with a book. It's a set of instructions on how to live. So if you know the book, then you're going to know how to live. It says that we have to search diligently. That's an instruction, to search diligently within ourselves. Justin, I'm just wondering real quick, should I switch onto my home internet rather than my Wi-Fi? Should we switch internets real quick?
If you want to give it a shot, we can give it a shot.
Let me try, because I see your face and I'm concerned that the recording's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's sounding okay, but let's give it a shot and see if that works.
Okay, let me try from this. This is now I'm on my home internet. I know you can piece this together.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let me go back to the instructions here.
Yeah, and if you want to jump on video, let's see what happens with them.
Okay. Hey,
okay.
What is this right now? Here's an exact instruction. When trouble comes, like the internet giving Justin and I trouble right now, it's an opportunity to demonstrate God's omnipotence. I'm just watching you, Justin, so you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if I need to switch back. But this is what the instructions say. It doesn't say, Nikki, panic and start getting all weird because the internet's not doing what you want on this podcast that you need to teach instructions of the big book. It actually says, cheerfully capitalize on it, Nikki, as an opportunity to demonstrate God's omnipotence, meaning that I've just got to trust that it's going to be what it is, because I've been waiting for this tool, the exact instructions of the big book, so I can just hit send rather than sit on the phone for 5 hours with dying addicts every day. So that's what I'm going to do right now in this moment. See, live in action, I'm actually putting the book into action, which is trouble's here. And I'm just going to pause because I'm a little agitated with the internet. And I'm going to cheerfully thank you, God, that I can demonstrate live in action what it looks like when things are not going exactly how I, Nikki M, want them to go. So there we go. Another instruction that people don't follow is that they are not searching diligently within themselves. They're searching diligently within, I don't know, a bottle, a baggie, a person, chips, you name it, the grocery store, online, scrolling your life away. It says within yourself. See, I know that people are dying when they are not following these exact instructions, which say that you have to sweep away your prejudice. Well, Nikki, this is what my old sponsor said. Well, Nikki, this is what I learned in that room. It's not in the big book, so why are your lips moving? That's number one, what I want to know. But number two, the exact instructions say that you need to sweep away your prejudice, everything you've ever learned before. Anything you've ever learned before. That also falls into open-mindedness, and the book speaks about that. There's just so many instructions, Justin. I didn't know where to start. Now I'm all kind of discombobulated because of this internet thing. But again, I can just take a deep breath because that's what the book says. It says pause when you're agitated, Nikki. And so I'm a little agitated right now. So I really get to use the instructions live in this podcast, which is a blessing. It's God here. Lots of promises. God is doing for me what I cannot do for myself. Another instruction that people do not want to follow. And this is a big one. It says, quit playing God. Does everybody know that instruction? It says, quit playing God. It doesn't work. And the book will tell you why these instructions are there. It's not like it's just like the book is saying, well, I'm just pulling this out of a hat and this is what you should do. It's saying don't play God because it doesn't work. Another instruction that no one follows, or rarely, I shouldn't say no one, I exaggerate a lot. Oh, no one likes me. No, that's not true. Some people don't like you, Nikki. There's another instruction. Rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows this path. See, I've got to thoroughly follow this path, which means radical honesty. It's really, this program is so beautiful because I'll never learn everything. I have a lifetime of learning in this book. So when it says quit playing God, that's an exact instruction. And you can just roll that. See, the big book gets a dance because then the next instruction on that, which is on page 63, can roll us right into page 120, which says we never, never arrange a man's life. Never, never. That's a double never. And I haven't seen that anywhere else in the big book. It doesn't really say it to the alcoholic, but you know who it says it to? The Al-Anons, the family, the people of the person who loves the addict. And of course, we all qualify. So the book is speaking to all of us. Never, never arrange a person's life. But I'm sober, Nikki. Then why are you arranging someone's life? That's an instruction you're not following. It also says that you get to choose your own creator. And I know people in here choose a God that isn't loving and all powerful. Why would you come in here and do that? I think that's a deep question you should ask yourself and your sponsees. Why would you come in here and get a punishing God when the book clearly says it's a loving, all-powerful hand of God on page 28? So the instruction is to find a power greater than yourself. That's the exact instruction. So why are you finding a power that's not greater than yourself, that's punishing? that's self-loathing, that's critical. We don't do that here. Another instruction that many people don't follow, and I have a big problem with this one. A searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Nikki loves to take a searching and fearless moral inventory of her government, of her family, my favorite is my 30-year-old daughter. I'm going to send this tape to her, Justin, so she can just have a laugh at it, because I love to take the inventory of everybody else, but the instructions clearly say ourself. That means me. And then the other instruction that people forget, because words matter. That's the other little thing I should say. Get a dictionary or just Google it, because it says a searching, fearless moral. It doesn't say action. Why is everyone telling me their actions? It says a moral inventory. You may have to Google the word morals, because your morals aren't your actions. It's your morals. So I want to hear about that, because it says the dark crannies of our past. It doesn't say every cranny of our past. Why am I hearing 500 names on a resentment list? Do you have that many dark crannies? I'm just curious. I'm asking for a friend, because it should all start to look the same on your moral inventory. Why did you do what you did? Not what did you do? Sometimes I might have to hear a little details about what you did, but I need to know why you did it. And if you're like me, your moral inventory is like everyone's. Pretty much if on here, because a lot of my God squad's on here. The morals are that I'm self-loathing, that I'm greedy, I'm selfish, I'm self-centered, and I'm lustful. You know, all these things that we do. You know, I don't need to really go over the list, because we're going over the exact instructions which say, I think well. See, a lot of people don't think well before they choose the person or persons to take an intimate and confidential step. We don't think well. That's the exact instruction. You just run your mouth off, Nikki, to anyone and everyone who will listen. Oh, but that's for a 4-step instruction and a 5th-step instruction, Nikki. No, this is an instruction book for life. So I must think well before I choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. And that's not just for a 5th step. That's any step. Isn't it? Any step in life. Why am I telling grandma my business? Untreated coworker my business. The instruction is think well, because if I don't think well before I open my big mouth to somebody, I'm going to cop a resentment, because that person's not going to understand what I'm driving at. That's what the book says. Make sure they understand what we are driving at and will not try to change our plans. See, these are instructions in our book. Another instruction that people do not follow are the 9 steps instructions. Because here it is. I love this one where it says, we write them a letter if they cannot be seen. But people are just writing a letter, going to a coffee shop, and vomiting their wrongdoings all over someone. When it says, except when to do so would injure them or others. Well, that's going to injure me when you tell me you were gossiping about me. I don't see how that's helpful. I don't know why you would sit down and write a letter about it to me when I can be seen. Exact instructions. Exact instructions say that a remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fit the bill. Why are your lips moving saying you're sorry? No, I parent like this too. My son, I think when we started the podcast, Justin, my first one, I think he was like 16. Now he's almost 19. And while, in that time, he rarely uses the word sorry now, because, oh, Mom, I'm sorry I'm late. Your actions will convince me more, son. Now he's just doesn't say it because his actions convince me more, son. So it says it won't fit the bill. So why are we all saying sorry? The instructions are in front of us in a blue book with white pages and black ink. And if you're in my town, I think it's $15. If you're in my fellowship, we'll send one to your door if you cannot afford one, because I've paid thousands on a therapist. Oh, but Nikki, I've got all this trauma. Well, the exact instructions say that you're to cling to the thought that in God's hands, cling. That's an instruction. Cling to the thought that in God's hands, your dark past, if you want to put trauma in there, is your greatest possession. It's your greatest possession. That's what the book says. So why are you not following the instruction to cling to the thought that in God's hands, your dark past? And a lot of these things, we're here with the instructions that we must follow, like upon awakening. Or like a lot of people don't do that. That means the minute you open your eyes, Nikki, before you grab your cell phone to write your God morning post to your fellowship, you're supposed to ask God to direct your thinking. I don't do that exact instruction every day. I don't. Ask some of my friends. They get my text when I just hit send and I forget to reread it. I forget to pause. I forget what I'm doing, right? When I'm agitated, because I didn't follow the exact instruction of asking God to direct my thinking. I also don't, upon awakening, think about the 24 hours ahead. I've been busy thinking about the 24 months ahead. I've been busy thinking about the 24 weeks ahead. See, exact instructions. I'm to consider my plans for the day. Nikki, not for the entire month. Radical. Now, that doesn't mean I don't make plans for the month ahead if I need to. But however that turns out, that's God's will for me. Because an exact instruction on page 420 says, I never just sit and do nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. Instead, I do the next right thing and leave the results up to God. And however that turns out for me, that's God's will. So these are like, you cannot go wrong if you follow these instructions, because I know people who are getting mediocre recovery and the miracles are not coming. They said miracles. And you guys have heard me talk about it. They're not just for, preachers and teachers of the past. They're for all of us right here, right now. The other instruction I see a lot of people not following, and sponsors, don't get me started on my resentment towards you who do this. It says we vigorously commence this way of living as we clean up the past. That's a key word, as. Why are you holding your sponsees on step 9, telling them to go and make their amends when the exact instructions say Nikki M is to vigorously commence this way of living as I clean up my shameful, dirty, in God's hands, my greatest asset past, isn't it? See, that's a key word. It doesn't say when. It doesn't say, Nikki, go out and make 5 amends before you start living this way. And I watch people die on step 9 because they have a sponsor who holds them here on an exact direction that isn't in the book. And it's like our next function is not to run out and make amends. This is a step 10. It says our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness, not run out, write a letter, spew your dirty thoughts all over somebody that isn't helpful. I mean, this is so course correct. If you've done this, it's okay. Just course correct. If this has happened to you, don't cop a resentment. It's okay. Because here's a rad, I love this page 417. It says nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Now that's more of a statement than an instruction, but I'm supposed to believe. Oh, it says we come to believe. I'm supposed to believe in this book. I'm supposed to believe in this power. I'm supposed to believe in this design for living. That's what it says, a design for living. Another one that most people don't follow, and I love this one. When all other measures fail, It says work with another addict will save the day. New friends, it doesn't say go to another rehab because they just body broker there. I know my friends in America, it's like an insurance plan there. Boom, 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 boom. Here in Canada too, because a lot of it's covered. Insurance money, government money. Where's the big book when I go to rehab? Where's me locked in a cell with a big book? That's what I want. That's the kind of rehab I want to start. I don't think I'll get a lot of funding for it. There's no money in it. There's no money in it because this is free. This is all free. We'll send you a book if you need one. When all other measures fail, it doesn't say go to another meeting. It doesn't say start a meeting. It does not say move from California to Toronto, Nikki. It doesn't say make another baby because you had a girl and you need a boy. And it certainly does not say pick up a 4-pound pocket dog with the worst breath in the world, named Toby. It says work with another addict. Exact instructions. I can't lay it out anymore. Someone messaged me today. They want to start a meeting. And I said, do you have a sponsee? Well, I'm looking for one. You're not even working a 12-step program. And I know a lot of people, I want to say this, we get high on this God dope. And all of a sudden we're filled with this power. And that's what we're supposed to be filled with, is this power. But it does not say run out and start a meeting or start a rehab, or it says work with another addict. Here's some instructions that people really don't follow. Keywords. It says enthusiasm. That's on page 15. It says my wife and I, and that's Bill W. talking. It says we abandon. Hey, rooms, it doesn't say surrender. Keyword is abandon ourselves with enthusiasm. If you're not excited, why are you here? Like, this is serious stuff. We're saving lives. And Nikki said, nope. Justin saving lives, nope. We are opening up as open vessels, being used to be teachers. See, recently I got a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, PhD. My new business card says soul surgeon. That's what I am. I'm a soul surgeon. And no, I didn't need the University of Toronto or Harvard or that fancy one in England to give me the degree. See, if you work for this power greater than yourself, miracles happen. And when you seek, because it says we sought through prayer and meditation. And I've been here 11 years. I hear a lot of things when I'm connected and seeking this power, because the book doesn't say just maintain. It says improve. It says improve conscious contact, maintaining. And I just explained this to a friend today when we were doing step 11. I said, we both have houses. And if we just maintain our house, and they're both old, and I said, well, it's not going to be any value. But if I improve my house, whoa, isn't it? Isn't it? If I improve my home, if I improve my body, I'm getting old. I'm going to be 50 soon this year. And it's like, if I improve, if I just maintain my body, I'll survive. But if I improve, I will thrive. Improve conscious contact. Here it says praying only. Why are you praying for other things? It says you, Nikki, are to pray only for knowledge of God's will and the power to carry that out. I've been praying for men to love me. I've been praying for a hot tub in my backyard. I've been praying for COVID lockdown restrictions to end. I still can't get into America. I've been praying, but those aren't the things I'm supposed to pray for. It says I'm supposed to pray for knowledge and the power to carry that out. Exact instructions. Oh, another one I love too. It says at night, you know, the review at night. This one I love. It says, we constructively review our day. We constructively review our day. Doesn't say self-loathe. Why are you self-loathing when it says constructively? No words. Words matter. Seems this internet connection's a little better. There's another miracle. God did for us what I could not do for myself. One more instruction, because I got to wrap it up here. And this is a huge one. Says there are some wrongs Nikki can never fully right. That's on page, I think, 83. The next instruction says, don't worry. Why is everybody worrying? The book clearly says, don't worry, Nikki. If you can honestly say to yourself, you would write them if you can. And then I followed the instructions of getting a loving and powerful God that knows every hair on my head and knows the depths of my heart. And so I don't worry about anything because I've been reborn. See, my common sense becomes uncommon sense. I'm a loving person. I want the best for everybody. That's the true nature. I've moved into God's will. I don't leave before the miracle happens. And I want to end one more thing on here about AA real quick, about these rooms. The truth is we only need one room. We only need one room in the rooms of AA. Here it is. Tradition 3, long form, in our book on page 563 says, our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Every single one of my friends in 12-step program suffers from the disease of alcoholism. And some of them don't pick up a drink, they pick up food. Some of them don't pick up anything but thoughts, but they've got the ism because this is a family disease. And it says, hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover. That's an exact instruction in the rooms of AA. Everyone's welcome here because the vision for you, and I'm going to drop mic it here on, this is Bill's vision, not my vision. It says it became customary to set apart one night a week for a meeting to be attended by anyone and everyone interested in a spiritual way of life. So if you're at a meeting that's closed, if you're at a meeting that doesn't allow everybody in there for a spiritual way of life, you're not following the exact instructions. And that's why I love our fellowship. It's open to anyone and everyone, all addictions, all afflictions. We want you well. Justin's going to post our information. We're home. I'm grateful. They can send a man to the moon, but I can't get an unfiltered, uninterrupted phone call to Justin. I have questions. I love you, Justin.
Nikki, love you too. Thank you so much. So much. You brought up several things that I think will spark a lot of questions, a lot of comments. We have a couple of questions, or one question that's come in already into the Q&A, and a reminder to our live audience, if you have questions for Nikki, please type them in the Q&A link at the bottom of your window. We'll get to those as we go along. I've also written a couple things here that we will get to. And Nikki, what I want to do first is I kind of want to do a role play with you for a minute. Let's walk through a step 4 into a step 9, a step 4 or 5 into a step 8, 9.
Please, I love role play.
Yeah, and I'm going to do kind of an innocuous one. In fact, one that you brought up, you mentioned. Let's do a gossiping. Let's say that Nikki, I gossiped about my neighbor. Let's do a step 4 on that. Okay, so I gossiped and I talked about my neighbor Joe behind his back and demeaned him. So let's go through that process. What do I need to do now?
Okay, number 1, you need to stop gossiping. That's number 1. You need to stop gossiping. Is it helpful to go tell Joe that you gossiped about him? No, because it says exact instructions say, except when to do so would injure them. So that's going to injure Joe to know that his friend is speaking about him. Then if you look at the instructions on page 78, 79, it says these reparations, which are amends, take innumerable forms. Innumerable forms. Then it tells Justin not to worry about gossiping because God knows his heart and knows that he's going to perform his work well, not perfect. Exact instructions say perform his work well, not perfect. So what do you do to make the amends to Joe? Next time you see Joe, you look for the God in him. You give him a compliment. Remember, the spiritual principles will solve all our problems, page 42. So you maybe invite Joe out for a coffee and look for the God in him. Maybe you find an interest that Joe has and say he's your neighbor. Joe, I saw you struggling with that. Can I come and help you in your yard? I have some time. And then what do? I mean, this is how radical it goes. You don't gossip again. You compliment, you praise Joe. You look for the God in him. Innumerable forms. Nowhere does it say you approach Joe and write a letter and read to him your wrongs.
Yeah. And that's a great way to work step 9. Now, as I'm doing step 4, 5 on that, hey, I'm sitting down with you, my sponsor, Nikki. You're my sponsor in this instance. I've written it down on step 4. All right, Joe, I harmed him by gossiping behind his back. Here's how it's affected me. Let's kind of go through those columns of that too.
Okay, so your harm's done to Joe. Is that Joe's in number call? Is this a harm's done or a resentment?
Yeah, let's do a harm's.
Okay, the harm's done is that you have Joe's column 1. Column 2, right, is How did you harm Joe? You gossiped about him. What did you unjustifiably arouse in him? Jealousy, suspicion, bitterness. Well, we're not sure even if Joe knows, but you could have, right? We don't know. What did you affect or threaten or hurt in him? Well, if he knew his self-esteem, his security because you're ruining his reputation, his ambitions. Maybe you gossiped to the wrong person and hurt his ambitions. You could affect his pocketbook if you're gossiping to his boss, and his relationships. You told some about him. You think his wife is going to want to go make sweet love to him while you said that gossip? No. Right. Okay. So you affected everything in him and yourself. What we do to others, we do to ourselves. Just a mere reflection. In our fellowship, we do your inventory for you. We do your inventory for you. So here it is. This is how you showed up, Justin. You showed up arrogant, false pride, self-loathing, rude, suspicious. Why are you gossiping about him? Envy, something about him. You're envying him. I don't know. You're gossiping about him. Why? He's got a better car. Selfish. You're self-seeking. You want attention, validation. You're dishonest. You're exaggerating about Joe because he's a good person. Your mind's delusional. You're intolerant of him. You're greedy. You want something out of the situation. You're lustful. How am I lustful? You're wanting more attention somehow because only when people gossip do they want some type of attention. So you're lusting after attention. Does that make sense? You're hateful. You're resentful. You're procrastinating because you're in a 12-step program. You're procrastinating on living for God. Does that make sense? Like, this is radical stuff. You're lazy. You're afraid of everything. You're irresponsible. You've got vulgar talk and you're slandering. That's it. Done. And what do you need to do instead? That's what it says. What should I have done instead? Always take your sponsee to the solution. Don't leave them on what an asshole they are. Here's what we do instead. And I just told you the spiritual principles in action. You need to get humble. You don't know better than God. God created Joe in his perfect image, sir. So why don't you just look for the God in Joe? Why don't you be polite? Say good morning. Trust God. Why don't you go read the big book and all the promises so you have some trust in the human race? Why don't you give gratitude? Thank God you have a neighbor that's actually decent. Because I know neighbors who aren't. I was actually arrested because of my mouth one time. So let's not get into that, right? You have a good neighbor, sir. And then we talked about actions to that. You're going to help him mow his lawn. You're going to bring him over a piece of that pie that your wife makes, Justin. You know how good it is. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to every day wake up and say something kind to yourself about Joe. It will remove it all. There you go.
Love
Simple.
It. Awesome. Simple. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nikki, for role-playing that, going through that. I appreciate it. All right. We've got a couple questions. One is from, I might butcher this name, Samisi. Samisi says, I appreciate your service, Nikki, and simplicity. Question I often get from sponsees and newcomers is the relevance of therapy and understanding the past. I tell them that I know therapy has its place in my life. However, I never had the recovery or spiritual life I have now until I went into action of the steps. I don't need to understand. I just need to live the spiritual life. Could you speak to this as well, please?
I love you too, Samsi. I mean, talk about a powerhouse doing so much work. Beautiful lady. Here it is. Properly appointed authority. Remember, we go to the properly appointed authority. I'm not a therapist. I'm a soul surgeon sponsor. What does that mean? I deal with the soul. Okay. So if you really want to understand these things, go to a therapist. I'm not. I follow the dictates of my big book. And it says on page 124, my past is my greatest asset. So why am I even talking about it? It says on page 417 that nothing happens in God's world by mistake and everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And then it says on page 133, and I love this one because everyone wants to talk about therapists. Nikki, you're not a doctor. No, I'm not. But it says that we are convinced, which means 100% without a doubt. I know the word convinced. I believe it, that a spiritual mode of living is the most powerful health restorative. So new sponsee, have you really done a spiritual mode of living? Because if you haven't, then go back to your doctor, which is the easier, softer way, because you agreed in step one, you're beyond human aid. You agreed in step one that your therapists and doctors have not worked for 44 years. So why don't you try this method first? We accept the dictates of the big book. I'm sorry, it's the way it goes. If I enter Scientology, they want me to accept their rules. They want me to accept their book. I have to come into 12-step and accept this way of living. And this is what the book says. It's very radical. I don't analyze it. I accept it, just as Samsi said.
Awesome.
That's in the book. That's all in the book.
Love it. All right. This is from an anonymous attendee. It says, Nikki, you look great. Thank you for all you do for the addict who still suffers. And the question is here, where it says, do not worry, as someone who snorts thoughts, blackout codependent, my mind is off as soon as it hits the pillow. How can I not worry?
Rad question. Awesome, bitchin', amazing question. I'm sorry, I'm from California. Rad, awesome. Here it is. It says, don't worry. The book says, page 23, it centers in your mind. Okay, so you are really the hopeless kind, because we don't have to go anywhere to get a drug. It's right in our mind. I know these, like the drugstore is right in my head. So what do I need to do? I need to replace those thoughts with other thoughts. So what does that look like? We teach this in my family, and this is why it says, see where religious people are right, make use of what they offer, the 4 obsessions. Here it is. I have to replace the obsession of these negative thinking with something else. So I replace it with the obsession of gratitude. I'm not going to worry. I'm going to obsess about gratitude. What am I worried about? I've got the greatest God in the world. I've got a God squad. I've got hands, legs, eyes, ears. I've got a cell phone to call people with. I could go on and on. Then I go to the obsession of helping others, because I'm worrying. Why? Because I'm thinking about me, because I suffer the disease of alcoholism without picking up a drink. Ism. I, self, me. So it says, don't worry, must not drift off. Bring yourself now here. So I'm going to ask that person who's asking real quick, and let's all pause for 1 second, because we got to use this as a teaching tool. Send this to your sponsees. Tell your sponsees, pause. What is missing in this moment? Nothing. Think about it. Because I like to go deep with my sponsees. I'll drive you to Sick Kids Hospital right now. I will poke your eyes out and get on a plane and come to whatever country you're in, and you'll be real worried because you have no more vision. So this goes so deep, most people will not make it. Where does it say that in the book, Nikki? It says on page 30, many pursue it, the delusion, the lie that they're like other people, to the gates of insanity or death. So don't worry, replace the worry. It's like today I said, replace your alcohol when you go out. I was telling a sponsee, you don't drink, but you got to know what you order when you go out. Hey, I want a sparkling water, splash of cranberry juice, and I need 2 limes, please. Give me that fancy glass. I'm worth it. Replace the addiction and affliction with all the magical, mystical things that are out there waiting for us.
Thank you, Nikki. Love that. Love that. And I'm worth it, dang it. All right. Next question from Dory. Dory says, thank you, Nikki, for all your service. My question is about sponsoring, and it relates to your closing remarks. Page 91 talks about, tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and give him a sketch of your drinking. Is it important that I work with fellows in my particular fellowships so I can share my experience on that particular substance or behavior?
Well, Dory, if you're in my fellowship, we come with a really simple log and loser list. It's a human aid list, and everything on there, everything you can imagine is on that list. I think you're in our fellowship, and so you know that. So what do I share? A lot of the time now, because I'm so armed with the facts, I don't need to share much, because when they start sharing about themselves, they're delusional. I've read the book. They can't differentiate the truth from the false. So what they're saying is not reality. So when I share my experience, strength, and hope, I'm already right into my workbook, which is on page 5, is a list of all human aid. all human aid. You name it, it's on there. Even the big book's on here, Dory. So I tell them very clearly, the big book's not the power. It's going to get me to the power, but it's not the power. So I don't share a lot of talking. I say, I've read the book. I have recovered. I've recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind. Nothing works to keep me sober. I'll say a couple things like I just did now: moving, kids, dogs, meetings, you name it. My sponsor won't do it. This is so radical. I'm beyond human aid. It takes 2, maybe 5 minutes to win the confidence of somebody if you are armed with the facts. And here's the key thing: we must speak big book. It's a language we speak. And if you speak it, then you're armed with the facts and you can win the entire confidence of anyone in a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you. So this next bit is a little bit of a miracle happening in the life of one of our fellows walking this path. This guy says, what about acceptance? I went almost 3 years in the program relapsing until I accepted that I was an addict. Now I am 28 days, great days sober. Thank you. I now see what I'm reading so differently. So tell us a little bit about acceptance in that process, in 3 years of possible dishonesty of, saying I'm doing this, but I'm not, or possible just struggling with not buying in or remaining, as abstinent as possible. Talk to us a little bit about that, Nikki.
Okay, friend, if you knew my story, you might, and I have a podcast because of my Justin over there that you can hear my story. I was in the room for 4 years suffering. And in year 4, I was going to kill myself and kill my lover. I boiled his phone because he didn't have a bunny. I go really AWOL. And guess what? The book says this is not an overnight matter. It must continue for our lifetime. It also says, it says right here, after we've tried this for a while. It's all in the book. It says that the right answers will come after we've tried this for a while. Basically, they're telling you not to leave the room. These are instructions. This is not an overnight matter. No one gets better overnight. It also says right here, we get a daily reprieve. It also says that this is simple but not easy. A price must be paid. You're just willing to pay the price now, which is the destruction of self. That's all. Sometimes it takes time. Remember, we are deep asleep. And some people don't like me because, Justin, I yell. And sometimes I yell because I've got to go through deep layers to wake people up. Because my story. My mom lives with me forever because her husband took a gun and blew his head off in front of her. And so I scream deep into people's souls to wake them up. And sometimes that takes years. Sometimes I saw another miracle with a guy. He's in group 1. We have 9, 10 groups in our thing. He was here at the very beginning of COVID. This could be the person, I don't know. And long years of being here, and he's sponsoring 3 years later. It took him time. So it's all in the book. That's what's happened to you, my friend. You didn't leave. That's why this is not in the book, but we hear it and it's true. Don't leave before the miracle happens, because this is a miracle. I'm a miracle. Justin, I'm looking at you since we first met 3 years ago. I see the miracle. This is not, that's why I said most people won't make it, because they leave. They don't stay long enough. They give up. They don't follow the exact instructions of our book, which say we perform his work well, spiritual progress, never perfection. We just, it's a broad highway. So stay.
Thank you, Nikki. All right. Next thing from our live audience. This is from Ben. Ben says, I'm in step 7 and procrastinating because of step 9. Can you please repeat the way to make amends? And we scanned over that in our role play, and in that scanning, it was just a quick run through of things. Is there anything else in that you think can be helpful?
I'm gonna tell you right now. I want to talk to you. I think it was Ben, but Ben, I want to more talk to your sponsor. So send him this tape. My new thing lately has been this. I care if you get better. If I was one-on-one, I would say I don't care, but I'm on a channel right now, so I care if you get better. But the reality is, I care more that you learn how to teach these steps, because if you teach these steps, then you are going to get better. So I'm not going to care if you make your amends right away. I'm not going to care if you do your nightly review. I'm going to care more that you know how to teach these 12 steps, because if you know how to teach these 12 steps, guess what, Ben? You're going to get better. So don't do your amends. Don't do your amends. Just make sure you go out and you start learning how to teach this, because guess what? You're going to do your amends as you sponsor. It's going to be hard to tell your sponsee to go and do an amends when you haven't done one, but it may take a few times. See, my sponsor never told me to run out and do an amends, and I didn't do any. I just went out and sponsored. And 5 years later, to baby daddy number 2, my amends was so next level, amazing, out of this world 5 years later, that if I had had a sponsor that said, you've got to go out and do your amends today, Nikki, I would not be here right now with you, because that's not the instruction, Ben. It says we vigorously commence this way of life as, not once, not when. You have instructions on how to do an amends. You start living this way of life. You start sponsoring. And then by the time you're back to teaching that amends, you've done some amends, because a lot of these amends are not, I'm sorry. It's changed behavior. I'm going to give you one live example and then we'll move on. I can never go to my son and daughter. She's 30. He's going to be 19. She's going to be 31. And say, I'm sorry, I was an awful mom. I chose my drugs over you, blah, 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 da, da, da. I go out and sponsor men and women, and God takes care of the rest. I changed my behavior. I wrote a will out. That's responsible. You understand what I was talking. Instead of my son coming over here and saying, I'm teaching him how to cook. I'm teaching him how to be a man. Teaching my daughter what it means to be a woman. That's my amends. Do you understand? But that's all I can do. I can't go out and change the past. I can sponsor another woman, and then God will see that I'm helping another person, and then God will help my people. This is a pay it forward program. It's beyond words sometimes. It's a feeling. That's what they say, right, Justin? It's an experience that sometimes can't be spoken.
Yeah, and I think that concept that you shared there, Nikki, earlier and reemphasized again, we went out and vigorously commenced as we cleaned up the past. I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from this is, I don't have to wait until before I'm working my steps 10 through 12, giving back and, watching, praying, and doing. As I'm cleaning it up, I need to move forward and lift others. I need to give back what has been so freely given me. And I don't have to wait until my list of whether it be 5 or whether it be 500 people on that list is completely done. I love that. Thank you.
One more thing I want to say on that, Justin, real quick, is that the steps are steps 1 through 9. Step 10, you're doing steps 1 through 9 every day. Step 11, you're seeking God. And step 12, you're carrying the message. So once you've done your steps 1 through 9, hey, good news, you're done. Like you know the formula. Then step 10, you do 1 through 9 every damn day. And then step 11, you're constantly seeking this power. If you don't like the word God, you're growing or you're dying. And then step 12, you're just soldiering along.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Let's jump to this one. This one's from Naika. She says, what's an instruction you initially misunderstood in the Big Book instructions that upon getting clarity has transformed your recovery?
Butterfly, you really want to work me, eh? I guess I really thought it was group therapy. I thought it was just a meeting. I mean, I didn't know the instructions, to be honest. I just listened to the people in the room. Raise your hand if you need a sponsor, go to meetings, just these things. I didn't realize this is a lifestyle. So that's the key instruction. When I read with Cameron F., who Grandpappy, the wizard, and he said, you read, this is a design for living on page 28. I didn't know what that meant, that this is literally a design for how you walk through life. Now, I'm going to go deeper on this thought real quick, Naika, because a lot of people have it. Some people have a Bible. Some people have a Torah. Some people have the Quran. Some people have the Buddhist teachings. They have all these different teachings. I could not find it there. The big book is a design for living. And that's the instruction I did not understand until it happened to me. The spiritual, not a experience, but the awakening happened for me. Read that. You and I will read that in the back of the book together, Naika, because that's awesome. That's what's happened to me. The educational variety. I just keep waking up to these truths.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki. Now, before we start closing down here, do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to light the fire with as we go out from here?
Well, there are no words of wisdom, because anything you've ever heard me say, I just learned out of the book, from my sponsor, from all the people who have come before me. But the exact instructions are how we live life. I do want to say this. If you have to, this is Bob Darrell. If you have to justify, rationalize, or explain anything, no, you are wrong, because you never have to justify, rationalize, or explain what is right. It looks like this. I was wrong. What could I do to make it better? That's it. It's that simple. I don't drift off. I should die. I did all these awful things to people. It's like, I was wrong. I can do better. And I love this instruction. It doesn't say perfect. It says, we performed this work well, not perfect. Well, God, I love this family. And I'm so grateful this internet sounds so clear now.
Yeah, it's going great. Thank you so much, Nikki. Fantastic RECO12 weekly speaker meeting for all addicts and those wanting to learn more about addiction and the recovery therefrom. If you still want more of the undiluted message from Nikki's experience, strength, and hope, you can find her on, well, lots of places she's spoken, but she's also been a previous speaker on RECO12 on meetings number 37, 82, and 113. And if we didn't get to your question, or if you have other questions, please consider joining our WhatsApp community by sending an email with your WhatsApp number to RECO12pod@gmail.com and join in our community and ask those questions and answer other questions that will come up. It's a great place to ask and answer questions about recovery. I invite the audience to come back next week. And I'm going to jump in here real quick and make a little aside. The Spiritual Gangsters group, the Big Book sponsorship group, has a monthly workshop that they do. If you want to learn more about how this sponsoring program works, this way of sponsoring, this Big Book way, the exact instructions work, I've put a link in the chat, and I'll do it in the show notes. 12 steps, 4 hours. It's the fourth Sunday of every month, and it's in the afternoon for 4 hours, and it's a fantastic thing. I attended this last month, and amazing. I would highly recommend doing it. All right, now let's get back to the close up here. If you haven't yet rated and reviewed the podcast on Apple Podcasts, please go do so now. It's a great way to work step 12 in sharing this message with others. Next week, we'll be hearing from Dave A., a member of AA and CODA from Antigua, who will be sharing his experience, strength, and hope on the topic of listening, a balancing action. And I look forward to this listening conversation that he's going to have with us. And I look forward to making a new RECO12 friend in Dave. He's a new speaker for us, so that'll be great. Now, let's launch off into the rest of the day with the prayer of St. Francis that I'm going to say for us. And I've made some adaptions, but I'm just going to read it as I have it written here. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Everybody, there is one that has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together.
this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight. Still searching for glimmers of light. Feet still on the ground, I can still be found, standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and binded with the seal